All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday morning fundamentals. This is your host, Kire Franklin. I am a tattooer out of Western Massachusetts. Typically on the show, what we do is we run through our fundamentals of art, its relation to tattooing. We talk about it, learn some terms for the first about like 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'll let you guys join in, start zooming in with us. You guys can ask questions that we just talked about, talk about, you know, what you're working on, anything like that. This is a completely open platform for you guys to really be as creative as possible and as open as possible, and all that great funness. We are beaming out through Reinventing the Tattoo app and community. If you don't know how to join in, feel free to join via the reinventingthetattoo.com under watch and upcoming events. You can go right to the date and you'll see the event right there. And you should be able to zoom right in. Today's class, we are just doing an open paint jam. I'm going to actually flip this canvas around and paint upside down for you guys, but you guys will see it upright. So you guys can watch this happen. You guys can join in now, and if you're working on a painting, great. If you're not, that's fine too. I just want to get an open floor of what people really would like to see on the show, really want to see talked about. We've talked about a lot of things. We've done at least 25 weeks of classes talking about a whole slew of objects and topics and whatnot. So I really want to get you guys firsthand input on what you'd want to hear. Feel free to comment in the section on if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, any of those platforms. And we have our good friend Kyle in the background. He's going to help us out with keeping an eye on all those comments and stuff, so I don't have to do that. With that being said, let me get started here talking about this. I'm going to pin my little bird here. Kyle, if you could spotlight my little bird so nobody has to see my face. And let me actually turn it around for everybody else. But I will paint upside down. That's fine. I just, I'm the type of person that will not like a light right next to my shoulder. I need a nice wide area of space to paint in. I don't like feeling claustrophobic. So you guys get the gift of watching it firsthand, but I'm perfectly fine doing it upside down. That's cool too. So this is obviously a bird. We started this bird a couple of days ago, and this is only our second session on this, as where this is right now. Pretty quick painting, nothing too crazy going on detail-wise. Right now we are in the detailing stage of it, as you can tell from the nuances that are happening within the feathers here on the top part. But we're going to talk about my process through this while we get people. And when somebody pops on, I'll definitely say hi and whatnot, and we'll talk about it. If you have any questions, feel free. But other than that, let's get started. So underneath this painting, there's actually another painting. I had started painting on this canvas probably about a year ago. And after looking at all my paintings, I kind of had to make the decision to finish a lot of them before the end of the year or scrap them and start something new. And this was the case. Typically for any priming of any canvas, this is actually board. This is wood. But I go through the same process with every single canvas, board, masonite, anything, where I gesso the crap out of it. So I take some white gesso, just some, it's not even like name brand, it's whatever gesso. And you layer it on one direction. I'll usually take a big fat brush and layer it on this way. And then I let it dry completely. Then I have two. Let me take them out. I have two. I have this one. I have this one. So I use those two to sand all of my canvases. They need a little washing, but I just feel it's a lot cheaper than buying sandpaper. Even though with sandpaper you will get a smoother result faster. This is, for For the poor artist, this is just as fine. So one is a little finer than the other one. This one has a little bit more grit to it. So I would rough it up with this one first, and I would even use the side here. As you can tell, it's pretty beat up. I'd use the side here and do like the edges. And I would go in the opposite direction that the initial gesso lines were, cross-hatching almost. And I go in this section in circular motion through the whole thing. And I get a little rough with it with this one, just to get everything up, to get all the like nooks and crannies up that you maybe have glopped on there for some reason, or made a mistake and put too much on one area, whatever the case may be. This is definitely the one to go for. And then I use the more finer one here, and I go real gentle over it, and I do circular motions over the whole thing. And then I take a damp paper towel, like damp, not wet, damp, okay? And I literally just wipe off all of the excess dust that was on the painting or on the on the canvas here. You know, wipe it off, and then do another layer of the gesso. And this time I'm going within the opposite direction as well. I'm going in this direction. Do the whole time. Okay. And that way it gets a nice clean coating when you go in that direction. Any grooves you may have made going this way are completely ruined by going in this direction. So definitely, that's why I do that. After that layer dries, I go through the same exact process again with these two, except for obviously in the vice versa, since we changed directions anyway for gessoing on our second layer. Do this again and do the same thing. Take a damp, it's very important that you take a damp paper towel and wipe it down afterwards, because those dusty particles will remain. And please take this from my experience, those dusty particles will remain. And when you start painting, or even if you did another layer of gesso, it'll start to collect into big giant clumps, and it'll actually dry on your canvas like that. And it's a much bigger pain in the ass to get rid of those. So I go through that process back and forth about 3 to 6 times, or depending on the size of the canvas, I'll do a total of 12 times. And the whole point is to cover the area, is priming your canvas, right? At the same time, you're making a very slick surface. So if you are working within acrylics or oils, you don't have to layer as much. It's already like opaque as soon as you put it down, because it's like an ice skating rink of just slickness. So definitely, I want to suggest every single person that even if you've started painting today, gesso your canvas, gesso your wood panel, gesso anything. My best friend who lives in North Carolina, she's been doing commissions for people and whatnot, and for her birthday, I sent her a giant bucket of gesso, just a giant bucket, because every single person needs to use it. Even if you had, completely mistaken this canvas, instead of getting rid of it or wasting it away, once again, you can gesso over this, and look, I made a brand new painting underneath or on top of it. You have no idea what's underneath this. No idea. And that's the whole point of that. And it is a little rushed. There are a couple spots that are a little raised, but overall, like, I can put my hand right across this and I don't feel any bumps or anything like that. That's the goal. That and you can do that too when you're starting to sand. You can totally tell the difference between one area that is not sanded and then an area of your painting that is. So I'll get my hands all dirty because I'm putting my hands all over it and making sure it's all smooth and perfect. Then after that, a little insight on my painting process here. We will show. So this is my thumbnail here that I created. Right, this is what we're going for. And yeah, this is a bunch of Google images just slammed together. I changed the colors for all of them and whatnot, just slightly. But point being is that I do this so I know what I'm looking for. So I know what I can see. So I don't have to overthink anything. That way, all I have to think about is technical application to make sure that it looks as representable as possible. And so I pretty much take a picture of the canvas, apply it into Procreate, make this template here, and then what I do is I layer it. Maybe a little difficult to see. I'll zoom in a little bit. I stencil it as if it was a tattoo. So I make this stencil, and what a lot of artists do that I've seen is they'll actually stencil onto their canvas. I am not there yet with my drawing skills, so I don't feel comfortable just going straight for a stenciling. So what I do is break it up into quarters. And then you remember when you get like those coloring books as a child where they had that section where it was just a big grid and they're pretty much like copy this dog over. Same thing, just on your canvas from your Procreate file. Same thing. So that's exactly what I did. I made the bird. And so we drew it on from there. And pretty much after that, we started painting. And I did have to gesso it once over again after I drew it because I didn't quite like it. So it is possible. The point of this whole thing is to show you that nothing is permanent when you are painting, especially with acrylics. You can just scrape it off. You can just gesso it over. You can just do any of that nonsense. And forgive me for saying so much today. I don't know what my deal is. So with that, we'll get into technical application of what brought me to this. Not finished. It's never finished. Merely abandoned, says Picasso. So let me get back here. So let's see here. Don't mind y'all. All right. So after I drew this on, obviously it looked very similar to what I took much bigger, flatter brushes. Brushes I use. And the cool thing about painting on, if you have painted before, the cool thing about painting on wood is you're almost seeing, because even though I have I like.
Kira, I think your microphone's cutting out there.
What? Okay. Oh, geez, Bean. How about that? Is that good?
Yeah, that's a little better.
A little better. Ah, geez.
Okay, no, we're okay now.
All right. So sorry about that, guys. So these are the 3 brushes that I worked with here. So we got a super flat brush, and then we got kind of like an angular flat brush, and another angular flat brush, just a little bit bigger. So these 3, believe it or not, there's some product on here, but believe it or not, were able to get me to whip out of all and create these little tiny feather marks. Because this whole time, what I was doing was painting like this, like whip motions, like in tattooing, when you're just that's exactly how I was painting. Because I didn't want it to have such solid markings, even though this has pretty solid marking here, but we will get into that. I wanted it to be super feathery, super light, and even almost razor sharp at certain points, especially when we were getting to like this section. That's why I have it angular like this. So that way this one paintbrush could take me through this whole painting. No problem. These 3 brushes. So this one was for more flatter areas. Right, this is when I would use this flat brush. And we're only speaking merely of the bird right now. This is when you use this flat brush here. And pretty much what you do is come in here and just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the first few layers of this were merely just applying undertones. I wasn't even looking at the face. The face wasn't even a existence for me. And at times what I'll do is I even put blue tape all over the face because this eyeball is staring at me all day. So if I cover it, then it's not staring at me. Then it's just value that I'm playing with. It's not a bird. So doing that is super, 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 super helpful. So we're going to get into what is dry brushing now. And for that, you need 2 brushes. And this is how I paint genuinely. Or generally. Genuinely. I paint genuinely. That does happen. Let's see. Where is that brush? Okay, here it is. All right, so let's just say we're going to go into these clouds. Right? We're going into these clouds. Make them nice and fluffy. Okay. So you take a brush like this. Flat brush here. Right? And I'm not going to do it just yet. But what you do, you get it nice and wet. I'll talk and then do. You get it nice and wet. You come in here and you just circle motion, apply whatever color it is. And then you take your round brush, this round brush here, and you just go right into the edges of where you just applied that color. And you go in and you just smooth it out to make it nice and blended evenly. And doing that gives you those nice oil painting blends. And don't mind the cat you may hear in the background. He just caught a toy and has to announce to the world that he caught it. So doing that will make everything nice and smooth and blended. And I get asked all the time how I paint in acrylics and yet it looks so blended. And that's how. You just do your dry brushing technique. I don't use any other mediums. I don't use any slow dries, any retarders. I don't use anything like that at this point in my career. But what I do use is just paint 2 brushes, 1 flat usually and 1 round, and water. And that's it. So with that being said, let's demonstrate that a little bit. Let me just grab a little bit of water from my paintbrushes down below here. And we have 2 people on with us. We have Anthony Parker. You are muted and video is off. But if you'd like to say hi, hello. And the man, the myth, the legend, we have Ricardo Sturdivant here. I'm sure he can be a helpful hand and mention some cool painting techniques too, because he is a phenomenal painter. Good morning to you.
Morning, Kire. Morning, Kyle.
Morning,
Anthony. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Glad I could join today.
Yeah, I figured, a lot of people have been asking about different painting techniques and whatnot on the drawing groups. So I was like, hey, man, why don't we? I don't know a whole bunch, but I can help out a little bit, I think.
Well, it sounds like you're nailing it. I mean, it's always different for everybody. It's the same way with tattooing, right? Like, not everybody does it the exact same way, but the majority of the people do paint with acrylics in the manner that you're speaking of too, though. So it works out pretty well, especially the dry brush technique. It's pretty phenomenal. I guess one thing that I would say that might help out is more towards the end of the painting. When you want to give a little bit more contrast or more depth, you can kind of go in with like a dry brush, one that's kind of frayed, and it's like either a square or a round, and it's got those little bristles that stick out everywhere and stuff, and just dab your you brush into either the darker contrast or the darker value, and you just kind of lightly skim across the surface where you want that little bit of extra shadow or the little bit of extra contrast, and it really brings it to life. And even for highlights, like on skin, for example, there's an accumulated amount of light that kind of falls on our skin tones, you know what I mean? So there's like those undertones that are kind of shining through from other light sources, and it's a good way to achieve some of those effects sometimes, highlights or undervalues.
Yeah, I like that. I liked how you mentioned undervalues and everything like that, because that's super important to apply, especially because it's very easy, and we're speaking to those who are just picked up a paintbrush today.
Mhm.
It's very easy to get distracted by the details of things, the overlayer of things,
Yeah.
even getting to that stage. And it's important to mention that, especially when you're painting, 95% of your time painting is just painting those underlayers. You
Yep.
spend the last, half hour to a few hours, depending how big the painting is, merely just doing details. Everything else is just building up to that point.
Yep. Pretty crazy. And it is easy to get distracted by that too, isn't it? Like, or frustrated even, where you're like ready to throw the painting away.
Yeah, especially when you're using a reference like I am, like you have a built reference.
Mhm.
You can easily just keep looking at what you love about the picture, which, could be its colors or the way his beak looks or what have you. But that could distract you from what you need to do.
Yep. Get that whole "there it is" moment.
A there it is moment, absolutely.
There it is.
Side note, not about painting or anything, but because you're here, that new Boba Fett episode, amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it?
They're doing a
It's-
really good job.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how they are going back into and like making this like culture of the Sand People like show like that much more prominence. You know what I mean? I think personally, I think they're setting up for like the Obi-Wan series to show like how dark Darth Vader really was. You know what I mean? Because like Anakin went through and killed all those Sand People way back in the day. You know what I mean? And everybody's just like, oh, it's just Sand People. Who cares? But they're really starting to bring them into the foreground for sure. And showing the character of Boba Fett too. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I loved how they brought him back too. That they didn't try to find like a younger version of him.
Yeah, it's the same one, right?
They're like,
Same
that's
guy.
him. That's legitimately him.
And then I think they're including some of that, like, what is it, the Maori kind of culture, the that whole fighting style and stuff like that too. Because I think that staff is from that culture, really.
Is it?
I think so. I could be wrong, and I don't want to insult anybody or anything like that, but I think that's the case. They might have talked about it in one of the Making of the Mandalorian episodes, even.
Which I'm sure you've seen like 15,000 times.
Dude, oh my gosh. Let's start it over. It just stopped, started all over again. That was the cool thing about VCRs, that they sometimes they would just stop and rewind and then play it all over again. It's like, yes. I don't even have to get up.
To this conversation now.
No. We won't go too far into it, but that was the cool part about it. I didn't have to get up or anything. It just already did it for me.
Oh, how it made it rewind by itself. I hate when you like put in, like, if you had siblings or something, you put in the VCR and it's like all the way to the end, and you're like, you didn't rewind it before you were done.
Yeah, be kind, rewind, right? Yeah.
Kyle and I were just talking about before we went live about our generation, like people born right before the 90s ended, how we just very much don't relate to the rest of our generation. It's just the Fortnite dancing,
Yeah.
SoundCloud rapping, and
Yep.
has its own culture. Truly respect it. Just not my thing. That's all.
It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that dance you're doing?
But truly, I was born 80 years old, so
I think we all kind of look like old, but I know what you mean though. When we're born, we look like little old women or little old men or something like that. All wrinkly and grumpy and shit. You know what I mean? Like crying.
We got that Benjamin Button.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that movie yet.
I haven't either because it kind of freaks me out. I'm not gonna lie.
It's pretty interesting.
I mean, that's definitely a word to put it. A dude that ages backwards. What?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? I'll have to check it out.
I would have never thunked.
Huh.
But
Who would have thunked it?
it's not like that Joaquin Phoenix movie where he was with Scarlett Johansson, where he was like obsessed with his phone and he like wanted to marry her. Remember that?
Oh, that is that her?
Yeah.
It's called Her or something like that. Yeah. It's Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix. Oh, Joaquin. He made a killer Joker too, dude. It's an awesome movie.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Good. He really freaked me out, that's for sure.
You did a good job. You did a real good job there, bud.
Yeah, there was an interview saying where when he did that scene with Robert De Niro, how freaked out Robert De Niro got towards the end.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm like, if you have it in you to freak Robert De Niro out.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Cape Fear? Cape Fear was a really good one too.
I love Cape Fear. I got
That's a good one.
for a while got into the younger Robert De Niro flicks.
Oh, dude, he was awesome in that movie.
The Raging Bull, the Taxi Driver.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, they got like 95% of those on Netflix. They definitely have Cape Fear on there.
That's a good one.
That is a really good movie. I was like, wow, I was shocked on how good of a movie it was.
Think about how many people don't get those references too because they've never seen it. You're talking to me.
I just like how at the very beginning of his career, he really picked roles that were just like, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Alarming.
Right.
All right, so what I'm kind of concentrating on right now are just these clouds. Usually what I do is throughout the painting, I will obviously work from background to foreground, but I'll do them in their own layers. And then eventually what will happen is they'll start to look very separated, like how they are now. And it's painting where you start to really collide the layers together and make them feel like they belong. That works for me. I feel like that's a personal technique, not so much what needs to happen. More so that I will consistently concentrate on making sure that they belong together rather than making them look like what they're supposed to like individually. And that will run into problems in the future if I don't just stay consistent. So I just had made all these clouds on their own. Then I made the bird on its own, in its own layer. And then now I'm continuing on with the clouds because this bird is pretty much done, besides its little belly area. And what we're working on now is just making sure that there's enough contrast between each layer, because we technically have 3 right now, 1 being the very, very front, 2 being the bird, 3 being the background clouds. So we got to make sure that they all coincide with each other. And yeah, every time I do a layer where I think that the layer is completely done, let's just say I'm doing an underpainting, I'll take a matte medium. Hold on. Let me take it out. Take this here, matte medium, and I will make sure that the painting is dry, please. And I will put this stuff all over the painting, then let it dry, and paint right on top of it. This will pretty much lock your layer. That's what we'll call it, locking your layer. So what will happen is if you don't lock a layer, from my experience, you'll be working on one area, and this will happen with acrylics, so don't think it won't. You'll be working in one area, jumping all over the place. And what will happen eventually, depending on the consistency of your paint, meaning how much water you're using, what will happen is you'll actually move the brush and start kicking up layers, and it'll leave you like that gaping hole of just emptiness that you can't fix until it's dry. In order to fix that, you just put some matte medium over your layers every so often, and you can just paint right on top of it, and it's a whole new layer. Just like if you hit new layer on Procreate. Bam.
Have you noticed with that technique that you're able to show a bit more translucency in like your images?
Yeah. I think because when I started doing that is when you taught me the glazing technique.
Mhm.
I couldn't apply that down unless I put a matte medium in it first.
Right.
Because all it would do was just kick up all the layers that I just put down.
Yep.
And at the same time, when you put a matte medium down and then you glaze, it's just it's like it's not interrupting any layer that you just put down whatsoever. It's like it's almost a new painting that you just glazed on.
Right. Isn't it crazy? I know exactly what you mean by those little pit holes and stuff like that, dude. God,
Oh,
that
they're
sucks,
horrible.
man.
They're horrible.
It's like, it's so irritating.
Because it takes so long to fix because you just worked up all those layers that you just put down.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what that is, like, let's just say once again you just picked up a paintbrush today. Well, what happened is that how can I demonstrate that? It kind of looks like this here, right? Kind of looks like this little white spot right here. So you'll start kicking up layers, and what will happen is you'll have this outer ring of the pigment or paint that is staying, and then a gaping hole right in the middle, and all you see right in that hole is the beginning of the canvas, like where you started. And you're like, oh man. And then you get frustrated and you keep painting over it, and it just keeps kicking it up, and you're like, I can't do anything until it's dry, but it's bothering me so bad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will fix that for you. Just apply a thin layer of matte medium, and I'm telling you, you'll be perfectly fine.
I think it's that's a perfect way to say it. And it's almost kind of like the tissue paper when it gets wet in one spot and you keep rubbing it, it's just going to keep eating through it. Everything else around it is still intact, but that tissue paper just like, oop, there it goes. There's a hole there now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very, very, very frustrating.
Super frustrating. God.
And what
I
I'm
hate it.
really trying to show future artists here is how to not get so frustrated so quickly, because
Yep.
I know that it can happen very fast. So please listen to my advice, at least from that portion of it, because I've done it so many times. It's beyond frustrating. But a good question would be, when do you know when it's the right time to put that medium on? And truthfully, that's kind of up to you. I will do it when I'm done with a layer. And but when I'm done with a layer, meaning when I'm doing an underpainting, right? Like there's once again, like the bird's features are not even, they're barely done. Because once again, if you do the bird to its fullest, then you're gonna this cute little face is gonna be staring at me the entire time, telling me, make sure you make it right, because we want to make it right. So are you laughing because you know exactly what that's like, or
Yeah, pretty much. And the personification that you just gave it to, it's hilarious.
Well, that's what it says to me every single time. So I do his face pretty much last. So the underpainting would be pretty much like scumbling in all these background areas, like all these like purpley areas, blues, oranges, like getting all these colors placed. And it's not even going to be blended really great. It's just blotched there. So I know where it's supposed to belong. Then that's when I'll be like, okay, this is all super wet. Even though it is dry to the touch, it's wet. It's got those underneath layers that are still drying and setting in. So that's when I would take that time to let it dry for a second, come in with a matte medium, and put it right over, just one single layer. Use a big flat brush, and my big flat brush is actually wicked wet right now, so I'm not going to put it on top of this painting, but widest brush you can get, or you can get those sponge brushes from like Home Depot or Lowe's. I heard Lowe's is better, so feel free to check them out. Super cheap, just get a nice even layer. Then what you do is you come in after it's dry, start shaping the clouds, start giving the bird some actual texture here in the face. I would start doing the face, start applying some black to establish that. Then once again, after that layer is done, that's when all your colors start to blend together. Put another layer of matte medium down. I do not think, and do not quote me on this, I do not think there is a limited like amount of layers you can apply to your matte, as long as you paint over it. I know on here it says like 2 to 3 thin coats, but that's when you're done. That's when you're completely done with it.
Excuse me, sorry about that.
And from that point, you just put some Gambar down.
Gambar.
Right? That is like my new favorite thing on the planet.
The Gambar going.
That stuff is so cool.
Amazing, isn't it?
But from here, we're just really, what I'm really concentrating on is just filling in these clouds, making them actually look like clouds, making sure they're the right tone. And I'm not really so much trying to color match what is here. That's just a lot to ask for out of me. But I'm just trying to get the image across of what I'm trying to do here. Because when you sit here and try and copy, you get really frustrated really quickly. Because then you start thinking to yourself, I'm not good enough, and woe is me, God forbid. No, don't do that. This isn't the next, Mona Lisa, guys. This is just a painting. Right, Cardo?
That's right. It's just paint. It's just paint. Don't be afraid of it. The worst you can do is mess it up. But at least you tried it, though, right?
Yeah, at least you tried it, and at least... And you still learned something. You learned not to do that.
That's exactly it.
Oh,
Like somebody at some point in time was the first person to be like, yeah, I can't do this with this. What do you think? I go, well, try it like this. I found out how to fix that problem.
I'm sure even Rembrandt was like, oh, gosh, what an idiot I am. Like,
Yeah. Right? Painting masterpieces at like 12 years old or something? Jerks.
Jerks. Well, let me open the floor to this question, right? If you were at dinner at your favorite restaurant, who would be the 3 artists you would want to have dinner with? Dead or alive? Go.
Oh man. Are we talking musicians or just like painter drawers?
Anybody. Artists are artists.
Kurt Cobain, for sure. John Lennon. And probably, I don't know. It'd be interesting to talk to Caravaggio too, because I heard that dude was pretty crazy.
That's a mix of people.
Yeah.
I mean, John Lennon and
John Lennon.
John Lennon and Kurt Cobain. Absolutely. They'd have
Pretty
nice
fun
conversations together. But then you throw Caravaggio in there, just
Yeah.
Italian.
We'd have to have some translators, you know what I mean? But no big deal. How about you?
Van Gogh for sure. I'd love to talk to Van Gogh. Who else? I don't know. Honestly, if I could just have a one-on-one with Van Gogh, I think that would be it. Oh, Theo, his brother. Even though he's not an artist, he's still that's a duo pair right there. I don't know. I really don't know who the third one would be.
Come on, musician. What's the first band that pops into your head? Okay, time's up.
I don't
How about you, Kyle?
Oh,
3 people. Ding, 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 ding.
I guess my 3 people would all be musicians. Tom Barber, Will Ramos, and Ricardo Sturdivant.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't.
Oh man, you guys are killing me. It'd be cool to have fucking dinner with all you guys, man. That'd be awesome.
Dinner is always such a nice treat to have with friends.
Okay.
I know
You know,
sucks with everything
We were
going
in fucking Philly. Yeah, no shit. Tell me about it with all this whole COVID stuff. How's that going with you guys out there in your neck of the woods?
over in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Everybody has COVID.
Yeah. Sounds about like the same over here.
I think our positivity rate is like 19% or something like that. Like 19% of the population has it.
Yeah, they're saying that nationwide it's like 14% or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Like everybody I message, they're just like, yeah, I just got over COVID, or yeah, I just got tested positive for COVID. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because our apprentice actually just got tested positive with it. And he doesn't even go anywhere. Like he goes nowhere. So he has no idea how he got it. And I was like, oh, that's good.
That was the same thing with my son. My son tested positive the other day, and it's like he's like, dude, I don't do anything. He's like, I go to work, I come back home, I hang out with my friends at my apartment. So I was like, I know, man. Something came in somewhere. I don't know. Little COVID monster. You know, usually there's like those little dudes at night that, you know, when you're asleep, they come out and they party and they leave all kinds of garbage in your mouth and stuff like that for you to clean up the next day. And so these dudes, the COVID monster came in. He's like, there you go.
There you have it. Hey.
Now you got it.
Oh, we got Atomic Injections who put down his 3 people for dinner. He said Brad Knowles, Dr. Seuss, and Joseph Stalin.
Nice, dude.
Yo. I mean, do we call Stalin an artist?
You just said 3 people, period.
That's all right. Fine. I would want to talk to him too. Be like, dude, why?
Yeah. Yo, what's up with that, dude? And tell me what you're thinking. Go.
You know what? I would say the great Hitler too, not bad Hitler, his artistry Hitler.
Oh, before he went crazy?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he was always kind of crazy, right?
I mean, of course, you got to be crazy to have thoughts like that, but you know what I mean. Just asking him about his art stuff.
Pre-flunking out of art school.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when he was highly motivated and whatnot. Yeah, that was a good one. Good job. I'm glad that people actually answered. Holy crap. All right, cool. Cardo, do you only paint in oils, or do you sometimes dibble dabble in the acrylics?
I do dabble in the acrylics. I had recently did that one for my son in acrylic, that painting of what's his name? Juice WRLD for him. It was a pretty big one. I got that done before Christmas for him. I'll send you a picture, and then if you want to share it. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on.
You'll have to send it over if you know Kyle's, because my phone is attached to this mechanism over here.
Okay. Let's see
if you
here.
have a picture of it, we can just screen share yet, because I'm just being screen shared right now. But
Okay, well, don't screen share me just yet. Let me pull it up real fast. Hold on 1 second.
No worries. And then after, we can discuss companies to buy your paints from.
Okay.
That's always the big one. And I'm going quite slow with applying paint here, because at this point in my painting, I'm trying to just be certain that the decisions I'm making are it. because that's the last thing you want is to put something down and have to be like, uh-oh, that was not supposed to go there.
That's not the one I wanted.
But the cool thing with acrylics too is that like if I were, let's say like I like put this there, like, oh crap, I don't want that there. You literally just take a paper towel and just go whoop, whoop.
Right.
And of course this isn't gonna come off perfectly because I am me. But you get the idea. We gotta go in there anyway, it's fine. It's a lot easier with oils. Which I would like to dibble dabble in this year. There are some oils, but don't know yet.
Let me see here. I can't find it. This iPad is. Here we go. Get this iPad going.
The dad grunt.
Raw. Raw.
All right, just applying some purples in here and start working on the darker tones of the clouds in a second. I'm just color mixing.
I do enjoy acrylics though sometimes. Like it's really fun. They can be pretty fast if you want them to be. You know what I mean? Like especially like laying down some of the base layers and stuff like that. They can be a lot of frustration sometimes too. But I learned to kind of slow down a little bit more with painting.
Yeah, I do everything with acrylics really, really slow.
Yeah.
The initial couple layers, I'm really not, because like, there's really nothing you can mess up. But once you start tightening layers like this, yeah, I'm going hyper slow.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Because it's going to take a lot longer to fix than to just leave it as is.
Okay. Pull this up.
And painting upside down is a struggle, so don't say nothing about that.
All right, this is the one right here.
All
I don't know if you
right.
can see that or not.
Here we go. Yeah, man, that came out great.
Nice.
Yeah.
You really got that Terminator edge down pat.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. This was a fun one. It was you can see like there's a lot of layers that I did with that translucent kind of effect, like you were talking about, like these clouds and stuff. Like I wanted it to be kind of like on a graffiti wall, whenever you've seen people paint over other sections of their paintings and everything, or their paintings get painted over. So like there's a lot of line work underneath some of this stuff. The most fun that I had with this entire piece though was these thick lines.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that was like just a rectangular brush and controlling the swivel, as I'm turning these edges and stuff like that to maintain that same margin as far as the width of it. It was really fun playing around with like as much paint as you need to kind of cover that amount of space and literally go over just sections that I've already painted with that wide brush and just turn it as you're going through it, and then using the same brush for these like kind of like silhouetted sections that are like represent the dreads. But I liked it, like you can see where there's a lot of like undertones still showing through, where I added more drips and stuff like down here at the bottom. There's a lot of like that watery kind of paint for the base of it, and then like adding more undiluted chunks of paint to it too. And then a lot of the
dripping effect that you did with it. I think that was super
yeah.
cool.
There's a lot of my oil paints are kind of the same way like this, you know, where it's just wet everywhere. But it was a lot of fun. And then here you can see a lot of those like undertones showing through quite a bit.
I'm assuming he loved it.
He loved it. He loved it. He was like blown away. He's like, I don't know what to say. And he's like, you know, he's 6'1", you know what I mean? Which I don't know. He must have got that height from his mom's side of the family because it definitely didn't come from me. But you know, so like it's a pretty big size painting too, you know. But he loved it. It's one of his favorite artists and everything like that. So pretty good to go. There you go. And
Awesome.
right now, I'm almost finished with this freaking spider skull thing, I think. I'll show you
Almost
this.
finished. Almost gonna abandon it.
I think so. Gonna leave it alone for a while. I got some more white that I'm gonna add to around the shadows and stuff like that to separate the shadow from the web. And then I'm starting to go through and add little hints of cobweb like kind of hanging from itself. And there's a lot of layers in this one too, like a lot of undertone kind of stuff that I blended together. Gonna give it that effect. So almost there. I think we might be done with it today.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the next couple days off just in case because I was around my son when he did get tested positive for COVID, but I have no symptoms for the past like 3 days now. So, but just in case, play it safe. Why not, right?
Yeah, I was surprised I had gotten it, but good thing for being vaccinated and
Right.
it not taking or it not being so harsh on my system because I'm
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Right. Exactly. I did get vaccinated too. I'm gonna be getting my booster soon, I think.
Yeah, my household just got it again recently too.
Again,
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Man, sorry to hear that.
It's all right. Everyone's doing okay right now.
It's good.
So now I'm just the only one in the house who hasn't got it.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And then you traveled this year too, you know what
I know,
mean?
right?
It's wild. It's like you guys have been in the same place this whole time and you got COVID and I've traveled and I still don't have COVID. Like, what's your deal, bro?
Right. And
What's
I'm
your
like,
deal?
I'm like the least safe out of everyone. Not to say that I don't, do the correct things, but
Right.
everyone's a lot more careful than I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. I don't think I've had it. The only time that I experienced anything like it was when I got the first shot. And the nurses were like, well, you probably had it before. I was like, I don't remember having it.
that's awesome. So let's talk about pigment or paint brands here.
Okay.
So I use Liquitex. I'm a Liquitex fan. I've used Liquitex since I started painting. But I wanted to make it very clear that you don't have to buy the super duper fancy brands when you start off painting, let's just say. So like these ones here, I'll put these up. This brand and is the same brands, but these two brands here were what I would buy when I first started painting. Do you see that price right there? $2.50 for that whole tube.
All right.
That's not too
And
bad.
let's just see here. Let's look at this little tiny Liquitex thing here. This Liquitex heavy body, just that little, is like $8.50 a little tiny thing like that.
How much?
I think it's like $8 and something cents. Like
I thought you said 80. I was like, wait, what?
$8.
It's got like platinum in it or something. Dang.
So my point being is that you don't like buying expensive products does not make you a very good artist. Okay. So if you follow certain artists, if you're following me or if you're following Ricardo or anybody and you buy their exact setup, they're like, I bought the exact things that they use, and then you apply your stuff down expecting it to come out exactly the way we do ours. Not the right concept, not the right mindset at all. My suggestion would to be buy all of these, and this is like an East Coast thing, I guess, because I asked and everybody looked at me like I had 15 heads. I bought these at an Ocean State job lot, which is like like a value store. It's like one of those stores that has everything in it for super cheap. I don't know what you call that, but
Oh, Walmart.
kind of like a Walmart, but like a little more warehousey, if that makes sense. Like a lot
Okay.
smaller and warehousey. So yes, but I think these were actually on sale for $1. I bought them.
It was like a Dollar General or something.
But you can literally look how much paint you have out of this thing. It's insane. And I've painted many paintings with just these and nothing else. I did my whole Pan's Labyrinth painting with just these and nothing else. So don't think that it's definitely difficult, but it will definitely teach you consistency with acrylics, which is super important in teaching you how to apply water and what's going to happen as soon as you put it down. It teaches you how to layer. It almost forces you to layer using brands like that, because difference between this one and this one, right? This one is pigmented, but even if I were to take this right out of the bottle and apply it here, it would still have some translucency to it. So it forces you to layer and layer and layer and layer and layer. And this heavy body acrylic, as soon as I dip into like a tiny amount of that heavy body acrylic and apply it here, I could draw a line from bottom to top, no problem. And it would be pigmented. So, point being that you need to focus more on the application rather than the product. Okay? And I'm not saying don't ever buy nicer products. Definitely do, but when you're ready and when you can afford it. Don't think that spending $1 million on paint products is going to make you a better artist. It's not. It's only the application that will, if that makes sense.
That's like with playing guitar. People are like, well, I got this like $700 amp. Why doesn't it sound better?
Yeah. Totally.
It's because you got to work on the skills first.
Right. Save your money, earn some skills, and then, yeah. And then buy the expensive stuff.
Yep. When you're ready.
Good advice. Good advice, Kira.
Well, that was the only reason why I bought the Liquitex heavy bodies, because I was I knew what I needed, and that's what the difference was. I shopped for what I needed rather than what I wanted. I needed a heavy body acrylic to do what I wanted and how I naturally paint anyway. And since buying those, it's making my paintings way faster because I already know the baseline of things,
Yep.
So hopefully that is helpful to somebody out there. Somebody.
Love.
Somebody to
Faceted Ink Studio in the comments here is asking if that comparison works for tattoo machines as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Tattoo machines, tattoo inks, tattoo products, everything, all of that.
Yeah, not saying don't buy Chinese ink, but definitely buy from other places. But
Yeah, I would say don't buy inks off of like Amazon or anything like that for sure.
Let's put it this way. Guy actually has a chapter about this in his canon where he talks about the concept of giving an apprentice really terrible gear to work with, because, and this is the thing, I guess, that when you do, it teaches them about the technique, not the machine that they're using. So then eventually when you do hand them something that's easier for them to use, be it starting them on coils and then transitioning them to rotaries, they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then, everything's a lot easier for them from what I have read. I don't know, Ricardo, what do you say about that?
I agree, Guy. And I also think that it also teaches you that some machines, the machine isn't going to make you tattoo better. It's going to be the way that you handle the machine, right? Like the machine is just an extension of our movement. You know what I mean? The machine isn't the primary function. I'm sorry to cuss, but the machine isn't the primary function there. It's actually us. And, coming from having to on a daily basis tune coil machines, and almost every tattoo you did, and working in a street shop where it's like your tattoo's working excellent for the tiny little dime-sized tattoo you just did of a butterfly, and it's solid and it's perfect and everything's just like falling in line. And then the next tattoo you do, 30, 40 minutes later is lettering, and the machine will not cooperate with you whatsoever. Um, this is, you can say the same thing for some rotaries and stuff like that too, is where they just operate a little bit differently, and you have to kind of learn what it is that you do, how you tattoo, and like maneuver that machine to function in that capacity. So yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say don't go spending money on crappy machines just for that intention, but make sure that you're putting a little bit more investigation into the machine, why people might like it, what it is they like about it, and how do they tattoo. That doesn't mean, like you said, that you're going to tattoo exactly like them, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah, and that definitely brings to the point too that we were making, where you're eventually shopping for what you need.
Yes.
The kind of machine that you need eventually. Like, do you need a softer hitting machine? Do you need a hitting machine? Do you need a pen? Do you need a rotary? Do you need like a V6 engine Bishop? Do you need what?
Right.
Do you, and it all depends on who you are as an artist. So that's why his point is to learn about who you are as an artist before making these decisions of which thing to buy or which machine to buy. And furthermore, once again, like Ricardo said, it's not going to make you a better tattooer just because you get like the brand new Spectra.
Yep.
Right box, $1,200 machine. That's not going to be the case.
Yep. Entirely. You're right.
There's an artist that I follow that he made like a own separate Instagram page just for, like really good tattoos made with like shitty machines off Amazon.
Yeah. That's a trend too. A lot of people are doing that I've seen at tattooers. Like tattooers that have been doing it for 20 years will buy machines off of Amazon and make it work. But that's not to say that somebody that's picking up a machine today can do the same thing. Why? Because they've been doing it for 20 years or so. So they already know how it's supposed to go.
You nailed it. You nailed it there, Kira. It's exactly what it is. Like, they understand the function of the machine. They understand the purpose of it. They understand why it is they're doing the movements that they are. And at that point, it's become like muscle memory, right? Like, they can kind of do it while they're looking at somebody else and having a conversation with them, right? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My buddy Tim Beck out here, amazing tattoo artist, very versatile. And I was so blessed to be able to like work with him in a shop for a little while at a very pivotal point in my life, and like, oh man, to watch him work. And like, I've seen him do that too, where he just takes these crappy $20 Amazon machines and he's just like doing these portraits. And you're like, what the heck? The heck is going on there, buddy? But the guy is like super talented, man. Super talented.
Yeah.
Your fundamentals, you can do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you know the fundamentals of any medium, you are unstoppable.
Yeah. Especially your own voice and your own truth.
Yeah.
Which is part of the process of studying your fundamentals, right?
Like right now with paintbrushes, like brands of paintbrushes, the reason why I didn't talk about that is because I use really crappy brands. Not because I don't know how to paint. I think I kind of do. But it's more so that I don't really care right now what kind of paintbrushes it are. Maybe in the future I might want like a talcum, brush, or
Talcum.
to different fibers, synthetic squirrel tail or something. I don't know. But that's not my main focus. My main focus is what you guys are seeing in front of you right now, and that's making sure that I can paint before even getting all that stuff. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you for asking that question, whoever that was.
Yeah, that was a perfect question. Kudos
For the question. Right now I'm just applying some ambient occlusions, or what I would call my ambient occlusions, even though they're not black. I feel like if I put black in here, that would be a little frustrating. This is actually purple. This is Oklahoma Thunder. This is purple, yellow oxide, and crimson blue? Question mark.
I think it's something along those lines. I don't know.
I've been using like different blues. That's why the only reason why, like, I first initially used this blue, which I could never pronounce ever. That blue.
What's how phthalo blue.
Phthalo blue. That's
Yeah,
usually
the P is like there for no good reason at all. It's like, why did you even put that in there? Why don't you just spell it THAL? You know what I mean? Like, what the heck?
What the heck?
Put your pinkies up.
Yeah, what the heck? Just put the P in front of H and heck. What the heck?
But it usually all depends, because with that color, you can see it's like right here, off on the top right here. It's right here. With that color, it all depends on where I'm placing it, on what it's actually going to look like. Because the cool thing about that color is that it looks gray. I don't know if it's going to focus. Hold on. Let's see if that works. It's gray to everybody else, but as soon as you apply it to the painting, it's going to look like blue or darker gray here, or it's going to change depending on where you place it, which I think is super cool. But that's a color theory thing. We're not going to talk about that today. I don't even quite understand that just yet.
It's so confusing. And like, we got to get into the idea of it being opinion based sometimes too. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the spectrums that people can even see.
Exactly.
So that's that's a big ball of wax, dude. Like, oof. I hear that, and man, I'm like, I'm gonna go sit down now because I feel a little dizzy and the world's spinning. I think this is the world, right? Like, are we still here? Okay, cool.
I think you said the exact same thing when I was with you and Bruno and Jason, and we were talking about colors, and you're looking at something, and I was like, yeah, that's not that color. And you're like, what? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
That's not. It's
Yeah,
yellow.
exactly.
It's not green. And you're like, nah, man.
Yeah.
I need to go sit down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go sit down now.
Rethink my life.
Yeah, pretty much. There's this, I can't remember, man, I feel bad about this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like, I can't remember where exactly I heard it from, but there was this experiment supposedly that this guy was doing with his daughter. And since she was a kid learning colors, he told her that the color blue was actually gray. Right. And she goes to school and they're starting to learn primaries and stuff like that. And they point to this guy, what color is that? Everybody's like blue. She's like, no, that's gray. You know what I mean? So that's another one of those color theory things too, is like, what have you been taught that is the truth, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I said that in a couple classes ago, that depending on, where you are, even in the world, they call colors different things. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have the color red. They have something else.
Right.
Whatever it is in their language. Some people don't even have names for the colors. They're more descriptions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Culturally, there can be a lot of differences. Yeah. And then that's your interpretation and that's your understanding of it as well. Like, we see red and it means warning, there's stop signs and stuff like that everywhere around us all the time. Or, I mean, what could red mean? That could also be passionate too, though. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Yeah. It all depends on context for sure.
Or how's that old traditional tattoo sailor saying? How's it go? It's or the sailors, right? Red in the morning, sailor's warning. Red at night, sailor's delight, or something like that. So just the timing thing even can be different in your relationship with the color.
Is that how that works?
That's what they say when you're doing. Supposedly the sailors. That's what they used to say back in the day. Red in the morning, sailor's warning. Red at night, sailor's delight.
So I applied that very small amount of Oklahoma Thunder in here, and already the contrast of it is amping up a lot. So
Yeah.
Definitely a good idea to do that. Definitely and this is something that you taught me, Ricardo, very early on in our friendship, to step away from your piece. And I know you guys can't really see me right now, but I'm like, this is as far as my arm can stretch right now. I'm pretty far away from it.
So like a foot away.
Yeah, so like a foot away.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, honestly, Ricardo, you're probably right.
Yeah, no, seriously though, you're right. Like you have to step back to be able to take it all in.
Yeah, and it helps you not hyper focus on one area, you know.
Right.
Because I think, and it was quite funny when I had first met Ricardo flying out to Illinois. That was like one of the first things he saw me doing, because I was like honed in on my little tiny sketchbook, like had both arms around it, and I'm like 2 inches away from the paper. He's like, "Hey man, you want to back up a little bit?"
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I was like,
I
"Oh,
even
you're probably right."
I even try to tell people when you're learning how to tattoo and you're drawing for tattoos, that we're so used to kind of sitting, looking down at a desk and drawing it. I always try to suggest people to set it up on an easel, and even your sketches and stuff like that. Like try to do it like that. Like once you become, with the iPad and Procreate and stuff like that, you definitely are tracing it on top of a digital screen, right? But like, we used to have to use microns and stuff like that and trace everything out. The only time that I would really use that kind of an angle looking down at the table was when it was the final details of the image, right? But overall, though, from the beginning concept to the final stage, the final draft was definitely sitting at an arm's length away from it. Especially with tattooing, because like you're taking in the entire area that you are going to be working on, like an arm or leg or chest or something like that, because there can be a lot of little deviations that kind of go against the flow of the body, the flow and fit of the body. But
yeah, exactly.
As far as your paintings go, you have to interpret it in that same capacity from a tattoo artist's point of view. Is like, how does this fill the canvas? Has it deviated it? Is there a section that looks darker than it should be, or is it mutating or morphing the image, the main focal point? Is it taken away from the focal point? You know what I mean? Like this one looks great because you have all that detail and high contrast and clear, crisper edges in the head and the beak and the eye, and right underneath that throat area and stuff like that. And then everything else is so soft and contrasting as far as color goes and stuff like that too. But it's also like very complementary to itself, so it's great, and it's very easy to look at the whole thing.
Wow.
Mm.
Absolutely. I honestly, sitting back away from my stuff has taught me more than anything, really. Because you can, also learning how to, decipher your painting. And by that, I mean, when you're looking at it and you're like, it needs a little contrast over here, you need to amp it up here a little bit. Because there's nothing worse than when you're looking at your own painting and you're like, something's bothering me. I don't know what it is, but it's bothering me. And then you're sitting there trying to decipher what the heck it actually is. Because your brain's telling you something before anything else, because your brain knows what exists, what doesn't exist, what's realistically there, what's not realistically there. So you got to trust that intuition. But I don't know if that's just me or that's everybody else too. But
No, definitely trust your intuition, and that builds up after experience too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my main worry is just to make sure I don't make it too dark, and that I don't make this bird as fat as I made him. I always make such chunky little birds.
That ambient,
like peeping into them McDonald's parking lots, that's for sure.
I think if you included some of that ambient inclusion that you were talking about earlier, and started like go back and refocus on the cylinder kind of effect, I think that'll help out. That'll help slim them down a little bit. That'll put them on a diet real fast.
Yeah, but what if I like him to be all fat?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It sounded like you're complaining about it, but yeah, no, if you like it like that, then mission accomplished, man.
Thanks.
I'm just messing with you.
No, he's all right. His name's Jasper. He's a paralegal.
Well, he needs to get up from behind that desk and go get on a stair climber.
Oh, stair climbers are the worst. I'm so
Dude. Oh man. Who was it that had that? Was it Bill Burr that was talking about that? He's like, no, I can't remember what comedian it was. He's like, man, they've nailed it. He's like, they've totally tricked you when you go to the gym and you pay money every month to go climb on a set of stairs that you go nowhere on. He's like, come on.
No, yeah. I think I last like a minute on those things. I'm like, oh my God.
They're hard, dude. They're hard. Oh, I hate them.
Very brutal.
Yeah. And my trainer's always like, we're going to meet today to go work out. Like, yeah, sure. And like show up and he's already on it. I'm like, damn it.
You mean that there's somebody above you that is way more amped at the gym than you?
Oh,
are?
dude, man. Oh my God. Yeah. Working out with Zach, it's great. And he holds you accountable too. He's like, that wasn't 10. That was 8. Come on. Damn it.
He saw.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. All right, let me finish this little part here because it's about to be that time. I'm going back to my shop today. We had a 14-day vacation because we're getting our ceilings redone, and I can't wait to see what our new lights look like. New lights in a shop are always exciting.
Heck yeah.
Let's see here. Really what I'm doing now is like this brush is mostly water. So when this all dries, it's going to dry super light. But I just want to tint it almost to give it a little bit of form, which it's doing a good job doing that. So, but learning different techniques is definitely what I would suggest to everybody who decided to paint today. Technique over everything. Dry brushing, wet on wet. Don't even focus on other mediums. Just focus on your relationship between your paintbrush, your paint, and your water. That's it. Nothing else. Plus, if you've seen Ricardo's paintbrushes, you'd be like, wow, guy. So
What do you mean? What do you mean? Elaborate, please.
Your brushes look like I don't know how to put this, bud. Scraggly.
Oh man, like they've been in a couple too many fights or something like that.
Yeah, like somebody left them in your pants pocket and you put them through the wash and the dryer.
Or like, yeah.
And I have a lot of brushes like that. Don't get me wrong, I really do. But it's kind of funny when I saw you and Jason talk to each other for the first time about that. And Jason has his brushes very neat and organized. They're perfectly shaped. Like they don't even have an ounce of paint on the brush. Like perfect. And then Ricardo's like, nah, man, you just gotta.
Dude, you just gotta like take a razor blade and run it through the hairs, get all the dry paint out of it and stuff like that. Like no big deal.
And I'm over here. I leave mine in the paintbrush bucket for like weeks.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly.
They're fine. They're fine.
You see that wooden handle? It used to be kind of tapered round, but now it's kind of, inflated and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Mine's bloated.
That's hilarious. As Bruno says, exactly.
What up, Bruno? If you're listening, what's up, dude?
Morning, Bruno. If you are listening, hope you're feeling better, bud.
Yeah, totally.
Bruno just got the Rona.
I think he's been over it for a little bit, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I had just gotten it in Thanksgiving, and I kind of I got the first wave, the Thanksgiving wave, and I'm watching everybody else go through like the New Year's and Christmas wave. But they're always like, here, you can get it again. It's like, I know, but I don't know. That wasn't so bad.
So far, so good. Knock on wood, man. I've had a couple people say, "Hey, we've come in close contact." Just like, no, okay. Keep an eye on it. Nothing. So far, so good.
Yeah, that's always good when that happens. I hated being the one to do that. I was the one when I got it. I was like, I know I just tattooed you yesterday, but I have COVID. Like doing your rounds like a Jehovah's Witness.
Mhm. We'd like to talk to you about being in close contact with me yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, gang. Got a little bit done on this. Just clean out my pages before I forget. All right, so let's see here. So pretty much what we're going to focus on next time is, well, not say, I shouldn't say time, but to finish this painting, work on my contrast a little bit more. Keep messing with the clouds a little bit. I really enjoy those clouds a lot. Those are super fun to do. I've always wanted to be good at sunset clouds. Don't think I'm there yet, but you know, we'll get there. Focus on the bottom part of the bird. I'm waiting till I'm done with these clouds till I finalize the bird body, just because it'd be annoying to finalize the bird body and then have to go back into it because I messed it up. So other than that, I'd go back into the face, do the final details of the face, really make it pop out. Make sure this bird sits on top of these clouds, but also these clouds sit in front. Put some Gamvar on it, sign it, call it a day. So this painting was super quick. This painting is probably, I'm only like, I don't know, 6 hours into it, really, over the past two, 3 days. So yeah, I guess that's that.
Nice.
Let's see here. Kyle, can you spotlight the room, I guess? Cardo, if you want to do your sign off first, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let me turn this camera on real quick. Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Cool. My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. I host Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's always fun to be able to jump in with Kire on Thursday mornings. I always look forward to her presentations and what she's talking about and stuff like that. Thank you again, Kire, for the good time today. You can reach me on Instagram at Candor Tattoo. Send me a message. You can reach me on the Reinventing the Tattoo app under Ricardo Sturdivant. Thanks again, guys. Kyle, thank you for all your help.
Of course.
Oh, thanks, Bud. We love you here at the Thursday morning fundamentals classes.
Heck yeah.
You can spotlight my other page here, my actual face. Let's see here. Oh, none of my faces are showing. There we go. Wow. There we go. All right, guys. Hello. Once again, my name is Kire Franklin, host of the Thursday Morning Fundamentals. Usually, we'd go through, like I said, a presentation, everything like that, a topic of discussion. But today, I thought it'd be nice to just do a nice paint jam, go over some basic painting techniques. Maybe in the future, we'll actually do a paint along. That would be fun. Maybe we'll do like an apple or something simple to go on that. Yeah. Join next week. Join next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time for our next rendition of our Thursday morning fundamentals. Please leave comments, shares, and all that fun stuff, what you would like to see be talked about. I need some new ideas. I need to see what you guys are wanting to learn and all that fun stuff. You can also join me on the Monday morning drawing groups at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Forgot for a second. That is just an open draw. So come hang out, come draw, come talk, come ask questions, all that fun stuff. We'll have great discussions. We can make Kire feel really young by talking about the old days. And other than that, thank you guys so much. Thank you to Kyle for coming on so early in the morning to help me out and all that fun stuff. And yeah, all right. So this is our time, I guess. Thank you guys so much for everything. Adios to y'all. Oh, if you want to follow me on the Instagram to ask questions as well, at Frankie Says Things, you can ask me questions, comments, concerns, tell me how terrible of a job I'm doing. I don't know. Yeah, feel free to do that. Other than that, I'm going to be hitting the button